As I told you, there are three types of retinal detachment. One is rhegmatogenous, second one is tractional, and the third one is exudative type of detachment. Among these, rhegmatogenous is most common. The very meaning rhegma means hole. So, because of the degeneration or trauma, a hole is formed and the subretinal fluid gets, and that's how the layers of the retina from pigment epithelium gets separated. So now the tractional detachment, will talk about tractional detachment. So in this, the glaring symptom is photopsias and floaters are absent. Photopsia is present in rhegmatogenous, here it is absent. And it is not associated with PVD, that is posterior vitreal detachment. So the signs are the detached retina is concave here, and in rhegmatogenous it is convex, rhegmatogenous and exudative, whereas here it is concave and breaks will not be seen. The subretinal fluid is shallow. Then the highest elevation point you can see, that is the point from where the vitreoretinal traction occurs. And there is no retinal mobility. As you see in the fresh cases of rhegmatogenous cases, there will be movement of the detached retina, but here there won't be any mobility. And the shifting fluid is absent. You can see here the retinal detachment occurred and the traction. You can see a schematic uh, diagram is given on the left side, and the right side, of course, it's difficult to appreciate. Then we have the another type of detachment that is called as exudative retinal detachment. The very name indicates exudative, exudation of the fluid because of some problem which most of the times can be diagnosed. So similarly here also photopsia is absent. Photopsia is nothing but flashes of light. Patient complains that he is seeing a flash of light. This is present only in rhegmatogenous type of retinal detachment. In both tractional and exudative retinal detachment, it is absent. Floaters are present because of the uveitis. Visual field defect is there and it is progresses rapidly. So the signs you can see, all these can be appreciated only by, as I told you, fundus examination, ophthalmoscopy. Fundus examination, usually indirect is most suitable. So here the detached retina is convex, retinal breaks absent, shallow. That is subretinal fluid. The detached retina is mobile, the shifting fluid can be seen, then subretinal clumping is seen, and most of the times the cause is noticed why the exudation occurred is noticed. So once again, if we go into the signs, the detached retina is convex, retinal breaks are absent, the surface is smooth, and the detached retina is mobile, and the shifting fluid can be seen. So on the right side, the line. So now we can get detachment. As I told you, the photosense, and most commonly the rhegmatogenous type of epithelial cells. It is photoretinitis. Photoretinitis is a complication of macular degeneration. మ్యూట్ చేస్తారా?
అంశుల అది మైక్రోఫోన్ ఆన్ ఉంది.
ఓకే,
కరెక్టా సార్?
correct. It's okay. So now we will just go through some other problems of the retina. Photoretinitis is the one. So the very name indicates it is nothing but the burn of paramacular area, and the main cause is bright sunlight. So anybody is advised not to see the sun directly. Most of the times during the eclipse, people try to visualize the sun thinking that it is less harmful, but it is not so. Even during eclipse also, it is advised not to see the sun directly. So bright sunlight is the main cause. Then positive scotoma will be there, metamorphosia will be there. So if you examine fundoscopy, you will see the pale spot fovea. Then later deposits pigment can be seen. So that is photoretinitis. Then we are having another type of disease in the macular area. It is called as ARMD. That is age-related macular degeneration. Age-related macular degeneration is one of the common problem in Western countries where the life expectancy is more. So there usually we are having this type of cases. It is one of the leading cause of blindness in elderly people. Somehow the reason we don't know, it is more common in the Western countries. It is of two types, atrophic and wet, or dry and wet, you can say. The dry one is most common, whereas the wet one is less common, but the vision loss will be more. Serious visual loss will be there. So basically, we are having two types of age-related macular degeneration. One is atrophic, and the another one is wet. So in the dry type or in the atrophic type, the drusen is one of the common thing you will see in the fundus examination in the foveal region. Drusens will be there, and the exudative is a wet we call. So there elevation of sensory retina will be there. So what is the pathogenesis of ARMD? Pathogenesis of age-related macular degeneration. Sclerosis of the arteries that nourishes the retina takes place, and that results in thinning and pigment deposition in the macula. In the exudative type, new vessels are formed. There is gradual diminution of vision in atrophic, whereas sudden loss of vision in exudative. So distorted vision will be there. Peripheral vision is not affected. It is the macula that is being affected. So the central visual field is affected. So there is no, to be fact, right treatment for the ARMD. Only some zinc supplements and antioxidants are given. So another topic in retina is ROP, that is retinopathy of prematurity. This is one of the important problem that should be identified as early as possible, and it should be managed. So it is a proliferative retinopathy which affects the preterm infants of low birth weight who are exposed to high oxygen concentration. So once again, retinopathy of prematurity is in premature babies or low birth weight, use no less than 1500 grams. So those patients, most of the times, they will be kept in incubators and they will be given oxygen. So if they are exposed to high oxygen, then there is this danger or this problem, this complication may occur. So here what happens, there is incompletely vascularized temporal retina, it will be there, and this is susceptible and ROP changes takes place. The temporal area of the fundus is incompletely vascularized, and that's how you know it pretty well. Whenever there is hypoxia, the some chemicals are released which results in the formation of new vessels. So in retinopathy of prematurity, because of the less vascularization of the temporal fundus, the proliferative changes or the ROP changes takes place. So according to the location, this is to identify. You can see the zone 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. The zone 1 is the central, zone 2 is the paracentral, and zone 3 is peripheral. This is for the location purposes. We give whether the ROP is in the zone 1 or 2 or 3. Then it is staged in the following way. The stage 1 is demarcation line. There will be a clear-cut demarcation between the vascularized and non-vascularized areas. In stage 2, a ridge occurs between the two areas. Then in stage 3, there is fibrovascular proliferation will be there. In stage 4, there can be subtotal retinal detachment. Stage 5 is complete retinal detachment. So in the staging, you can see the early is the demarcation line where the less vascularized temporal area is susceptible for the changes. What are the changes? The changes are nothing but the proliferation, new vessel formation takes place, and because of the fibrovascular proliferation, the retinal detachment occurs. So all babies born at or before 31 weeks should be subjected to ROP screening. Similarly, any baby less than 1500 grams or less also should be screened for ROP. Because if the problem is identified early, then restoration is possible, or else the permanent loss of vision may occur. So one should keep in mind that babies or premature babies or babies being less than 1500 milligrams should be subjected for screening. So the treatment is ablation. You know, this can be done by lasers, retinal photocoagulation, pan retinal photocoagulation. So photocoagulation lasers will be given so that the hypoxic areas will become anoxic. Hypoxia stimulates the formation of blood vessels, whereas anoxia will not stimulate. So we are making an hypoxic areas of the retina into anoxic areas. Or if there is detachments are there, then vitreoretinal surgery also can be done. And you know it pretty well, in retinal detachments, usually the surgery should be taken up as early as possible, because later on, even if we do surgery, the anatomical correction may occur, but physiologically the retina, the functional capacity will be lost. So here you see in the picture, in the temporal area, there is avascular retina, and in the picture on the left side, you can see there is avascular retina. There is no blood vessels, you can see clearly. On the right side, a vascularized retina is present. And in between you can see a demarcation line, a clear demarcation line is there. So here you can see the second stage wherein there is neovascular formation is taking place at the ridge. You can see neovascular proliferation is there. Here complete proliferation of the area you can see. This is of course not clear. Okay, there's the pictures are given like that. Now we'll talk something about the vitreous. So you know it pretty well. Vitreous is a jelly-like substance which occupies about 3/4 of the eyeball. By volume, about 75 to 80% is occupied by the vitreous. So it is a transparent gel and clear optical media. That means the light rays will pass through vitreous and they will fall on our retina. So it is essential, this vitreous is essential for the structural integrity of the eye. Then it is also a pathway for nutrients to be utilized by lens, ciliary body and retina. Lens, ciliary body and retina, they also, nutrition is supplied by the vitreous. So it is clear and avascular and it fills the space between the lens and the retina. Posteriorly, it is the retina optic disc will be there. Anteriorly, the lens will be there. So in between, the whole area is filled by the vitreous. So as I told you, 80% of the globe is occupied by vitreous. So the internal limiting membrane on the inner surface of the retina separates the retina from vitreous. So there exists a potential space between the internal limiting membrane of the retina and the inner surface of the vitreous. So sometimes the vitreous gets detached from it and we call it as posterior vitreous detachment, PVD. So the attachments are posteriorly to the lens, Wiegert ligaments. It goes by the name of Wiegert's ligament. But the strong attachment is at the vitreous base, that is around ora serrata. Then the weak attachments are at the optic nerve head and the paramacular area. So the vitreous gets attached firmly at the ora serrata and weak attachment at the optic nerve and macula, paramacular areas. So it consists of mainly water is 99% of the vitreous is water, then collagen, hyaluronic acid, hyalocytes and mucopolysaccharides are present. The composition of the vitreous, the gel-like substance is water, collagen, hyaluronic acid and mucopolysaccharides. So as the age advances, usually in myopes, the vitreous gets degenerated. It is called as syneresis. So vitreous gets liquefied, so it shrinks and collapses, causing separation of the retina from retina. That what we call as posterior vitreous detachment. PVD per se is not synonymous with any disease. So PVD is common in diabetics. Of course, floaters can be seen, and because of the adhesions to the retina, when it gets separated, some photopsia, that is flashing of lights, can be objective. It is a subjective appreciation, right? And the photopsias can be provoked by ocular movement, usually in the temporal field. The Weiss ring-like opacity is an B-scan finding, of course. So there can be opacities in the vitreous. That's how the patient complaints. Many a times, whenever there is in young patients or in healthy vitreous, actually the vitreous is a transparent one. Whereas as the age gets advanced or because of the trauma, there can be degeneration, and that results in some the patient complaints that he will is seeing black spots. What we call the term is musca volitans or floaters. But the complaint by the patient is usually that he is seeing some black spots whenever he reads or he in front of his eyes. So the floaters are nothing but compressed cells or strands of vitreous gel. So we are having two types of degenerations. One is asteroid hyalosis. Second one is syncytial scintillans or amyloid degenerations. So the difference you can see asteroid hyalosis and syncytial scintillans. Asteroid hyalosis is usually occurs in elderly. Calcium containing lipid complexes will be there, common in diabetics, and it is usual in unilateral eye. Both sexes can be affected. The fundus is not visualized properly. In asteroid hyalosis, fundus is not visualized properly, and the treatment is vitrectomy. Once again, asteroid hyalosis is a pathological condition, usually occurs in elderly patients, most common in diabetics. Usually it is unilateral, and the examination of fundus is difficult. So vitrectomy is advised. In syncytial scintillans, it is the cholesterol crystals. Uh, History of trauma may be there, or inflammatory history will be there. And whenever you see, there will be glistening bodies will be seen in the vitreous, and there is no treatment for it actually. Syncytial scintillans. So amyloid degeneration, it results in ophthalmoplegia. You know it. What is amyloid degeneration? So here hemorrhage exudates may be there. Then vitreous hemorrhage is one condition uh, where there will be sudden fall of vision and the patient complains of floaters. So the common causes for the vitreous hemorrhage are proliferative diabetic retinopathy, retinal tears, branch vein occlusion, retinal vasculitis, trauma, and peripheral retinal neovascularization. Once again, you see the main cause for the vitreous is proliferative diabetic retinopathy, PDR, or retinal tears, trauma, vasculitis. We are having one disease by name Eales disease. It is nothing but retinal vasculitis. Previously, it used to be most common in tuberculosis patients. So usually the treatment is conservatively we will observe for 1 or 2 months in head elevated position so that the hemorrhage gets absorbed. If the hemorrhage is not absorbed, then after 2 months we will go for surgery. So the surgery, conservative and surgical treatment we are having. If there is repeated hemorrhage or if the hemorrhage is not absorbed within 2 months, then we will think of going for surgery. So there is one more term by name persistent hyperplastic vitreous. It is failure of the structures of the primary vitreous. Usually it is unilateral and you can see a yellowish or white pupillary reflex. So this persistent hyperplastic vitreous should be differentiated from cataract or intraocular tumors. So is one of the uh, differential diagnosis cat's eye reflex, what we call. So again, macular holes is mainly because of the degeneration or trauma. So if there is full lamellar hole or full thickness hole, there can be complete loss of vision. Here you can see some ocular findings. So this is a picture wherein you can see the hard exudates and a macula picture is there. Similarly, hard exudates. Okay, now today we had discussed about the vitreous degeneration, then vitreous hemorrhage, then ARMD, you are having a wet and dry, then photoretinitis, the macular holes, similarly retinal detachments. So we just touched upon so many problems of the retina. Yeah, this theory class is not a substitute for your reading. So in detail, you better go through the textbooks. Thank you.